Today, we're gonna review the PC that solved all my problems. Let's do this. I talked in a previous video about one of the problems I have with my current PC is limited PCI Express lanes. I own 3 GPUs and I also have an NVMe SSD. With my current system, I can only connect 2 of those GPUs alongside with the SSD. And that PC I bought over 4 years ago, and it started to be very sluggish, especially when it comes to video editing. It was the time for an upgrade. So I'm gonna walk you through my new PC. We start with the masterpiece. This is the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3960X. It's a 24-core processor. It's a beast in every possible way. Actually, in benchmarks, it's almost 4 times as fast as my current processor. Along with that, I have the Gigabyte TRX40 Designare. This motherboard is a beast. It has 4 Pci Express slots, it ships with a Thunderbolt card, and also an AIC adapter, which lets you connect up to 4 M.2 SSDs. Next, we have RAM. We have the Vengeance LPX. This is the 64 gigabyte kit. It's 4 DIMMs, each one is 16 gigabytes, and it's 3200 megahertz. Next is the SSD. I went for the Corsair MP510. So I have already one of these on my old PC and they perform spectacularly. As for the cooling, I went for the Darkrock Pro TR4. It's designed to cool a 250 watt CPU. The problem is this particular Threadripper has 280 watt TDP, but I went for this one anyway. I actually really like this cooler. It has very good performance and it's also very, very quiet. By the way, the PC is already assembled. Like, I got the PC about a month and a half ago and I'm just showing you empty boxes, basically. Okay, the next thing is we're still talking about cooling, so I got 3 of these fans. It's a Noctua PPC Industrial 3000 RPM fans. Those fans have amazing airflow, and they are ridiculously loud, which somehow I don't mind. I have no idea. I like actually being around very loud computers. And of course the elephant in the room, which is the Fractal Design Define 7XL. This case is huge. I don't know if you realize how huge it is. I'm not actually very short, I'm 170 centimeters, and look how big this is. It's a very nice case, it's very modular. So these are all the parts I bought for the PC. You realize there is one thing missing, which is the GPU. I have already 3 GPUs, and they are working pretty good so far for me. So I have 3 GPUs. I have 2 Nvidia GeForce GTX 1070, and 1 Nvidia GeForce GTX 980 Ti. So that's it. Now, I'm going to show you the PC itself. So I love the case, I love this build, it really solved a lot of my editing problems. Actually, almost all of it. One last thing I wanted to show you, I want you to realize how loud this thing can get. So let me turn it on and max out the fans. So this is basically only the exhaust fan. So what you're hearing right now is only the case fans. This doesn't include all the GPUs. I don't know why, but I really like the sound. It's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about PCI Express Lanes. My old CPU had only 16, plus 4 for the chipset. So this means if I install, let's say, a graphics card, that's a 16X graphics card, then all the 16 PCI Express lanes will be allocated to that card. If I install 2, then each of them will get 8. In case I install an NVMe SSD, which requires 4 slots on its own, this means that one of the GPUs will get 8, another one will get 4, and another 4 will be allocated to the NVMe SSD. The only case where the SSD doesn't really take PCI Express lanes from the CPU is if the M.2 slot is connected to the chipset, which already has PCI Express lanes from the CPU. Now with my old PC, given the fact that I have 3 GPUs, I can only install 2 at a time, and having the NVMe SSD connected to the chipset actually doesn't affect performance that much, and even if it did, I really don't care because it's a ridiculously fast SSD anyway, and there is no real case scenario where I can max that out. So I really wanted a system where I could connect the 3 GPUs, because In a lot of video editing workloads and sometimes photo editing as well, having more GPUs can really accelerate things. I don't think it accelerates it that much for photo editing, but for video editing, yes, for sure. And for a very long time, I wanted to contribute some processing power to the Folding at Home project, and having more Pci Express lanes was the only way to do it. So with this current build, the processor has 64 Pci Express lanes. It's more than I can ever use, I think. And keep in mind, this CPU supports PCI Express 4, which is twice as fast as the previous generation. The way those lanes are allocated to the PCI Express slots is basically, there are 4 slots, so it's 16, 8, 16, 8. Of course, there is no modern GPU that actually needs a 16x PCI Express slot. In all cases, actually, 8 lanes is more than enough. So if you calculate 2 by 16 and 2 by 8, so that's 48 lanes allocated to the PCI Express slots only. With the 4 M.2 connectors available in the motherboard, each one of them taking 4 PCI Express lanes as well, this adds up to a total of 64. Of course, if you max out all the PCI Express slots on all the M.2 slots, then the 16x slots will reduce to 8. Of course, if 4 M.2 slots are not enough for you, you can always install the add-on card that lets you install 4 M.2 SSDs into one PCI Express card, which is actually pretty useful. And as for this motherboard, the Gigabyte TRX40 Designare, this card comes included in the package. I really believe that this is like a very good workstation for video editing and for whatever you can do on a workstation. 24 cores, it's enough for any kind of workload. And of course, the awesome expandability lets you install whatever number of GPUs you can dream of. And of course, having the luxury of 4 M.2 connectors built into the motherboard enables you to install really fast storage, especially with PCI Express 4. There aren't many PCI Express 4 M.2 SSDs on the market, but the ones that are already there, they have amazing performance. And for really high performance, you can even install a bunch of these M.2 SSDs and put them on RAID 0. I think I've seen a video, I don't remember who made the video, but it was about PCI Express 4 M.2 SSDs, and they were put on RAID 0, and I think the sequential reads and writes have reached somewhere over 10 gigabytes per second. Think about that, 10 gigabytes per second. Actually, if you think about it, maybe a few years ago, this is how fast a RAM can get. Yeah, I think I ran out of awesome stuff to say about this awesome PC. I will put in the description the exact specs of the PC in case I missed something. If you want to buy a similar thing or if you're just curious. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.